I'll talk today about the bulk API project, the generally new API that's coming up in Magento in nearest future. And that's a small story of our success story of the community-driven project. Yesterday was a nice presentation from Snowdog about the RabbitMQ. I don't know if somebody of you saw it or not, but it was quite a nice one. So that generally was a good introduction for the bulk API. And also today was a very good presentation from Miguel about the open source project, about the community contribution to the Magento source. And this project, this bulk API project, that's a success story of the comwrap. My name is Oleksandr. I'm working like Magento technical team lead at comwrap, doing Magento maintaining, DevDocs maintaining. And so I start with our use case. We had a quite interesting use case, and I guess like most of the developers have it from time to time. I don't know how a lot of you try to integrate your ERP systems with Magento via API. Somebody? Not so many generally. Okay. CSV data? More. Good. Okay. And so through the API, when you're trying to integrate the external ERP system with Magento, you have a lot of common cases. So generally, you just have to import the product. That's the most important stuff of any Magento system. Then you have update products, stock update, price update, and we had two clients. They have very similar requests, so that their ERP system sent all requests to Magento without waiting for response. So if they have 1 million of product, 500,000 of product, even like 5,000 of product was already a problem, because it just pushed the 5,000 of products to Magento. Only time gap was time for generate the new JSON, which is quite fast, and they just push it to Magento, and yeah, they thought we are done. And and the common problems which we catched up, that was first of all database server overload, also like an application server. We had some tests. So for example, if you're doing 300 requests at the same time to Magento API endpoints, you will get the time between the first one is processed till the last one. It will be like 25 seconds for the last request. So last request taken 25 seconds. And you can imagine if you push thousands of them to Magento, not only you cannot complete an import, but only your Magento frontend is definitely will stuck. Like we had a problem with application, server infrastructure, with database. We have also a problem with MySQL deadlocks. That problem came from Magento core. When your request trying to write something to the table is locked, and then the next request which come in behind him just cannot write anything, and it throws you the exception. But this problem is already fixed in Magento, like 2.5 it's already fixed, 2.3 that also, yeah, definitely. Then your like external ERP system have to, I mean generally it's blocked. So if you send in the millions requests synchronously, so if you wait for each request, your system is blocked. So it cannot make any other operation than just to complete the import. But like in our case, our ERP system cannot handle and answers correctly, so it can definitely log them, but client just calling us and tell, hey, I sent you 1,000 of product and I see only 500, where are they? And that's also a good advice, like for anybody who will try to integrate in the future the ERP with Magento. When you start in your project and you're planning your project, please plan the all products import on the beginning of your project, not on the end. Like not like you develop the whole front end, the back end works, everything connected, ERP system also connected, and then when client said, yeah, I'm ready to go live, so I'll push the start button, and then you get in 1 million of products in your database, and cool. Nice, that was not me.
Too many products.
Too many products, true. Yep, and we first built our own solution for that. So generally we created a small framework for the catching the request from ERP system. It's catched like before appearing in the index.php file, so before the index.php file of Magento is called. And it's put them all like in a middleware, which was a small Symfony middleware which stored them there, and then this middleware just puts them one by one to the queuing system. And then it was consumer run, and we read it from the queuing system and also push it one by one to Magento. This means that like when the client is pushing all this product to a system, they appear not directly, and Magento is not overloaded, but they just executed one by one through the standard Magento API. Yep. And then we came to idea that that's generally very good use case, and a lot of guys whom we had talked to, it was our partners or was like developers whom we know, a lot of them has a similar cases, not only like with Magento itself, Magento 1, Magento 2, also some other systems which they used, but all of them had the same use cases, and we saw that Magento Commerce has already built-in queuing framework inside that was available in Commerce Edition. And we can make the Magento API works asynchronously, like why not? Why not do it inside of the Magento out of box, and Magento just getting all your requests, putting them to the queue, and then execute them one by one. Creating a new endpoint that's for developer will be easier to work with API, so he don't need to override whole his already working implementation, make the small changes, let's say in endpoint URL, and then everything will stay the same, for him at least. Create new endpoints like that you can read the operation statuses, and the Magento Swagger like for easy work. And then also one idea came that was that Magento API out of box getting one object per request, like one node to make it possible to send a lot of object per request, so that you send bunch of products, 100 products in one JSON body, and then they all will be processed. And that's what I like quite much. That was our boss, who generally we had a lot of discussion internally that yeah, we build our own solution, it works, cool, how we can share it with the world, and that's why not to make it like default in Magento core. What's stopping us from that? And that was quite easy. We just wrote to Magento guys and telling them our use case and how it works, and they just came with, yeah, sure, why not? You can do it. That's nothing against. And yeah, so that's like a point which we came out during the contribution to the Magento core, to have their own project with Magento together and with community together. Like, don't be afraid to propose new ideas. If you have a good idea, which is definitely valuable, and you have multiple use cases which you can present and show, then you can share it with community and with Magento, and if it's good, it will be used. I mean, you can integrate it, you can contribute. That's definitely what we are all doing generally. Communication with Magento happens much faster than you think. In comparison with another softwares, it's very hard to reach somebody and give him, like, tell, hey, I have a good idea, let's integrate it. I mean, we never had a problem with communication with Magento. We have HConf team, which is response. I don't know, if you write in 5 minutes, they have members through the whole world. We have Europe, we have USA. They will always help you. Even if you write an email, they answer quite fast. Yeah, so just ask questions, propose your ideas, and go for it. So our project, which we developed, was developed by, like, there was two main participants of this project. There was a comwrap, that's our company, and Balance Internet. They are located in Australia. And yeah, like I said, and that was a very good presentation from Miguel, who explained this. On this project, like, you have the full support of Magento team. You have a weekly with Magento team and with community where, like, they fixed and everybody can join. And if you're not really, like, developing this functionality right now, you still can join and get new ideas from it and learn something, which is also nice. You can also ask for, like, additional calls with Magento architecture team or so. And then you have Magento contribution, you have events, you have contribution days, you can share your idea, you can meet the people who had the same problem. So what are your benefits out of it? First of all, as I saw that this was worth spreading, so just share. Then the people, that for me was the most valuable, because we started this project half a year ago, and signed this year my personal network and my amount of friends I have in Magento communities grows tremendously. We had, I don't know, don't want to tell you numbers, that's secret. Your skills are growing up in any case. I thought before I started to contribute that I'm writing quite good Magento code. It was not, definitely. Our 2.3 pull request to 2.3 with the sync API, I guess it was approximately 15 reviews that was done from Magento core team. And every time you have to change something because you think, yeah, that was a good approach, let's go for it. It has to be like this, and then, no, I mean, Magento that has quite strict code standards, and if you're doing yourself, if you're learning the coding yourself, doing in your company, you think that it's right. Usually you're not asking the Magento core team, am I doing it right? Even if you go through documentation and so on, then maybe the code structure is correct. But from an architecture point of view, if you're creating a new functionality in a code, which influence on another extension, other modules, that's definitely something you can learn together. So yeah, after half a year of the work, we came up with a new Magento bulk and asynchronous API. It was merged and it generally works. It will be available quite soon. So like a small overview, we have asynchronous request. So like any post put delete request to Magento REST endpoint can be converted to asynchronous. So you just add in a prefix before your endpoint, and it will be processed by another processor in Magento core, and it will get your request. It will recognize that it's a synchronous request. It will put it then to the queue, and then if you run consumer, it will read it from a queue and will execute it with using the standard service contract for this request. So if you're doing the products creation, then it will execute the product service contract for that. But still, it will done by queuing system, and you are safe that your system is not overloaded. And that's an example of response which you get in usually you get in quite small response. For all operations, it's the same. You just get in your bulk UID, that's your ID of your operation which you submitted, and then the status and ID of it, and then you can use it for the future. Generally, we also tried it. The page request also will work here, but Magento has no page request out of box. But if you have some custom extension, then you can also integrate it. And any self-developed API, web API endpoint from extension, or if you did it yourself, also will be automatically available asynchronously. Then the second part was the bulk API. Bulk API, as I told you, that you can transfer the multiple object with one request. That's a small example. So generally it's still async, and then you add in the bulk endpoint there, like bulk part of the URL, and then you transfer the body like an array of your object. So generally it can be products, customers, whatever you want to use there. And okay, here's no example. So the request will be the same, just this request items will be an array there. So you will get an index for each operation with the different IDs, but UID will be the same for the whole bulk request. Yep, and that's a problem which we found out and which we had a long discussion. I guess it took like 3-4 weeks only to find a solution here. That the old pull request, they contain the parameters in a URL. And if you're talking about the bulk, you can send the array of the elements in the body, but you cannot duplicate all those parameters for each of the objects you have. And the solution was that we just replace, so that was done like for easy to developer to change their API in case if they're using it. So you can replace in the parameters with the prefix by, so these double dots get away, you have by and then you have uppercase of the parameter, and they're not used anymore in your request, and you have to transfer it with a body, so with a product object, for example, or with a customer object, and they send in. Also we have two endpoints for operation statuses, so you send the request, you want to know what's happened then. I mean, RabbitMQ, it's executing it asynchronously, doing one by one, but to get a status, you can go or to RabbitMQ interface to check if everything was processed, but you still don't know what is the status there, like what was your result of your request. And this two endpoints were developed where you can request the statuses of your request. You're using your bulk UID, which you received before. And you have a status and detail status. They're mostly the same. The only difference that status will send you back the only status, like ID. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, which you can get from documentation generally what each of them I mean. And detail status will take a bit longer time because the response will be bigger. Because it will send you first of all your request. You will see what did you send there, like what was the request, and you will also see the output of this request. So if you're doing the standard Magento create product call to REST API, you will get back the JSON with the product data there. And in this detail status, you also will see it there. So then you know what was the result, like what was the output of the request. Like, you know, if I change the price with a request and then Magento telling me, oh good, I created it, I updated it, and then you go in and then you check the response and you see this price is still old and something went wrong. Or you can see the detailed message, like what was wrong. That generally, if it was an exception, Magento will deliver here the Magento exception. How to run it? That's like two commands. It's consumer's list. So generally the consumer is listening for the queue and executing the messages from this queue. So you can check the list which are available in Magento by this command, and I can tell you directly that this consumer is always there for the asynchronous request. You can use it also with configuration files, like as usual with XML. You can change the configuration, you can change the queue name, or you can tell that the queue for products is at this name and for all other has the standard name. So then you can maybe run, if you want to, you can run multiple consumers, like one specially for the product and you don't care about the other request, or optimize it, or also possible to run multiple at the same time. We didn't do quite a lot. We tested like 5, 10 at the same time, there was no problems. But if you run, again, too many, you may come to the problem which appeared before. With the server overload, hopefully no deadlocks anymore available. That's a performance improvement which we generally reach with asynchronous API. The blue one is the average response time for standard web API for the request. So you started like from one request at the same time till 1000, and it's definitely like grows till 60 seconds for the request. And the red one, that's a response time for the asynchronous request, so of which Magento is accepting your messages and or like your request and put it to the queue. So we got like 40% of the performance improvement only on this point. Release date. So it was merged. It will be available in 2.3, and 2 weeks ago we finished the backport for 2.7, and it will be rolled out with 2.7. Just like this. So what we got after our implementation, we got a stability. I can definitely tell you we have a running client with implemented async API, not bulk, and it was running for like already 2 months, and I just decided to check what is the statistic, like how many requests we get and how it's proceeding, because we for last 2 months never heard any problems from a client or nothing were reported. So like all products came to the system. and there was days where we got 800,000 requests per day. And we didn't know about this. And for me, like for developer, that the perfect way when I don't know that there is big massive data overload because my server responds correctly, the front end is delivered, client is happy, then I have nothing to do generally. Yeah, we have a synchronous API and bulk API which are done. You can easily implement your pieces with different requirements. Is it async or sync? Up to you. We, Balance Internet, also submitted the Swagger. It also will be available. It will deliver you the list of the available calls. I guess it's only excluding the gets from there, and all other calls just the same, but you can also test with it. So you can test your requests out of it. And more coming. We have quite big backlogs, and there is quite a lot of features which are already done. Maybe I'll talk about them next time. Yep, and our project it's still running, and we have like already that's phase number 3, and we're still trying to improve the performance, which is quite important for everybody, and we try to improve the synchronous import of default Magento. So when you are not using APIs, but you are going to your backend and upload your that CSV data there. So that's the first part of the project. So like you get in the CSV on the backend, you validate it, then you parse it on a single messages and put it into the queue, and then special consumer will execute the queue, like the messages from the queue, and will proceed to your import. Like in this case, if you have the very fat files with thousands of lines there, your system will not die. I hope so. Didn't try it yet. It's still in development. Yeah, we have performance improvement of the current implementation. We want to use the Redis for the operation statuses. Is everybody know here what the Redis is? Yeah, looks like. I hope so. Yep. In any case, if you don't know, the Redis is a key value framework, like not key value database, and currently all Magento operation statuses are stored in the Magento database. And so each time when you make the new request, it's right into the database of Magento the statuses, and then when it proceeded, it's also updated the statuses of the operation, so it's writing again and again, and that's loading the database. And our perfect goal, when you submitting the messages to the asynchronous endpoints, you are not using database at all. So we want to put those operation statuses inside of the Redis database. So everything is stored in there, and it's also built in status there, and you get the status there. And also, we want to cache AV object structure of the Magento. Currently, also when you create a new, like when you send a new request to Magento async endpoint, it's taking the object and it's still validating that the structure of your JSON is correct based on the EAV attribute structure. And that's something we want to improve. And I marked it just yesterday as a green because there was contribution day 2 days ago, and we got the pull request, which have to cover this functionality. It's not tested yet, but at least that's a really good start already. And there was also some guys who worked on the Redis storage, and we have already the key value framework there, and the Redis framework is coming. And then it can be used also for other functionality of Magento, and it's enabled easily with environment PHP. Yep, so join us if you have an interest, if you have a use cases, even if you have a use case and has no interest in to contribute, you can still join our meetings. It's every Wednesday, 5 o'clock, now 17:00 European time. Twitter me. If I'm not available, you can Twitter comwrap. Yeah, you can find me Slack. That's a project GitHub page. You can find all backlogs there, tickets, description. We also have a Slack channel, which I didn't write here. Oh, that's called bulk-API. Yep. Any questions for now? No. Good. Thank you then. Hope you will find us.